That's good. And well delivered. And,
Yes.
And well delivered.
So, Dennis, it's week 2. It's our second Trump. It's season 2, episode 2 of Trumpistan.
Right. So, I've got a bit of abiding interest in criminal justice, and one of the things that
Biden interest.
That's interesting. We did a show about the Biden administration's policy. I've got it in my desk.
Yes.
But interesting that the review of DEI and killing all wokeness from that guy Elon Musk, who runs the Department of Efficiency. He's behind laying off federal employees, saying you can buy out or we'll lay you off.
Right.
Out to 2 million employees, whatever. And the other thing they did was that if there's any shit and any money that leaves here, any government language about DEI, it's out. And we're no longer diversity. We're anti-woke. They're press conferencing that.
Right.
They're communicating that. We're anti-woke.
Sure.
We're going to end wokeness. And so rather than understand what grants are out there and trillions of dollars in grants, and kind of saying, well, let's kind of attack these as they go, he did a blanket. And suddenly, every Head Start program, Nutrition for Kids program, stuff that's affecting the Latinas who voted for him and the poor people voted for him. And the backlash was immediate and insane, and he's already rescinded it. But there's this interesting dynamic that I want to explore, which makes me interested for the first time in the Trump administration since the second term, and it's this, that under Kushner's leadership on this issue, due to his dad having been incarcerated, he in fact is a child of an incarcerated parent, they passed good reentry legislation. It was good, and people complied, and it really stepped us forward. Well, much of that is still in there, but the Biden administration under Merrick Garland, he brought on a dude, African-American dude who did time in prison, put him in charge of all the grants, and he said, you know what? From now on, 40% or 30% of the money, different grants or different percentages, have to go to people that are run. They got to go to people who've been in prison. And it's DEI, but not on race. It's DEI, meaning inclusion. But
that's the I, man.
It's part of his administration's policy that is at odds with all the other policy he had, because it's one of the few that made any sense. And so I think it'll pan out. But there's going to be then this opportunity to work with that administration, say, get these grants. I'll tell you how they don't do very well. They're not very accountable. You're giving money away to reduce the amount of time that people come back to prison and blah, blah, blah. And after you get the money, they're done. And if you don't do it, you can apply for next year's grant. That didn't work, going to do it again. And so you blah, blah, blah. And then they make you, their accountability measures to make you write a bunch of stuff, bunch of narrative, instead of the kind of help that you need. But the fact is that this administration has got that one freaking decent policy. It's going to be interesting to see how it pans out.
Yeah. Like, so many... Like, the universities must be freaking out because all of science depends on government grants, more or less. Like, yeah. Well, there's some pharmaceutical companies that are funding their own research, but like the rest of science, like all of academia, all that the professors talk about, all the PhDs talk about is applying for grants. I need to apply for grants. I need to get grant money.
I've lived in that world.
And so if we're going to be like, no, fuck grants, Like,
No, that's not what they're going to do.
well, everything's just going to go all to
That's not what they're going to do.
shit.
All they want to do, and it's real simple. They want to anti-woke the shit. And so here's the scenario. 3 years ago, I had a version of my guidelines and policies that wasn't DEI infused, because it was within the first year of the Biden administration, before it was clear that that's what required. It's also a time period before, in the criminal justice arena, Merrick Garland had hired this dude, and those policy changed. They didn't change the first year. They changed in the second year. And so, let me finish. So, you have a copy of those guidelines. Then what you did was you changed them. And you edited them to include DEI. All you need to do is go back to the version that was 3 years ago, and none of the stuff is there. It's all newly put in. And there you go. And now you're compliant, and the money will roll. If they say you can't be DEI, then you got to show that you are, or you won't get the money. And it's not that hard to do.
So we're anti-diversity, anti-equality,
No, let's
and
not say that.
anti-inclusion.
You're being subjective about it. That's not what the policy is. The policy says
I was being
they're
literal
not
about it.
anti-woke. They don't want the government to be involved in wokeness. And if you ask them individually if their personal values are some of the examples that you stated, the people would say, yes, that's not the point. I don't want the government involved in this. And I don't want to base funding on this. Because this is about a philosophy. This is a liberal philosophy. The government shouldn't base funding on philosophy. Our philosophy is that it's just you're accountable for your own outcome. Period.
You just said not in philosophy. Our philosophy is, yes,
Yes.
right.
Yes. Therefore, let's keep philosophy out of it, and we'll just put it back the way it was before you got a hold of it.
But
And so we take 3 steps back, not 12, not 20. In the case of this criminal justice issue, which is an example, and many of the other problems, if they come back the way that they were and there's less regulation, guess what? Now they don't have to write reports about how effective they are at DEI and what their investments are, what they're paying off, and if the positions that they funded to do that. Now that's gone. Therefore, they have more money, they have more time, and if they're going to be driven by a personal value of inclusion, they can be. It's just not dictated and monitored by the government. And so don't,
okay, okay, that's fine. It's not that they're anti-DEI. It's that we do no longer require DEI.
Yes, and I'm not to say that whoever they are, right?
Yeah,
That they could, if it's
approval
Trump, if
people.
it's the grand gugas, whatever, that's one thing. But the other thing is that the bureaucrat that's got to run the agency, who knows the history and the policies and can examine that, even though they're going to replace 2 or 3 down, they're not going to go far enough down there. There's going to be somebody working in this agency who can say, I was there, I know where the files are,
Right.
and I can explain everything to you. And they will lock that guy in a room with them for about 3 days. They'll have a stenographer there, and the people who are there, who very well may have some brains. But remember, it's not about being, it's not about anti-woke. It's about being woke neutral by policy. That's not to say, some of them say, I hate that shit. I am so fucking anti-woke. I'd like to kill those left-wing motherfuckers. There's
Right.
that. There's
Right.
a spectrum.
Sure.
But the key is that the spectrum, the loyalty test, is at its most dramatic at the higher end.
Sure.
So the people that get the big bucks, they got to pass loyalty tests. But at some point, you've got to have also, they will understand they've got to have people with subject matter expertise, or they'll never, ever be able to. They look around the room and they say, who knows how this works? There's nobody, none of the new people do. And so they say, well, thank God we didn't get rid of everybody. There's a clerk who's been here for 12 years, and he knows where all the files are. Let's ask him what's happened, and then let's start reading the history. And so
Sure. Cool.
the question of wokeness, then, at some point it becomes an irritant that you've got to observe, but there's so much else you have to do to manage $1 billion and get it funded through grants and move the money and have whatever accountability is there. Now, strip it of the DEI stuff, more time, more money, and if the people want to do it, it's going to be up to the administration, to the executive. It's not going to be up to the it's going to be a local decision, not a federal decision. Could, for all that matter, be a state decision. The money all flows through the state. Some of it grants go directly to county and city government, of course, and in fact, it's pretty prolific that happens. But at any rate, this is a clumsy start because they rescinded it today.
Sure.
2 days later, they rescinded it. And they said it did what we wanted to do. It told people to pay attention to the the way that we are going to be rid of federal wokeness.
Right.
And for that, now people are paying attention. And they know, too, that we're stupid enough just to cancel everything. So as a woman was supposed to lose her Head Start job today at 5 o'clock. They got a government stay early today, and by the end of the day, the policy was rescinded. So she isn't laid off today at 5 o'clock. She learned that at about 2:30. Kids, mortgage, and it's that way all across America.
Right.
Okay, you voted for him. Here you go. Suck up.
Yeah, and it's all the, like, God. Like, yeah, it's like part of me is like, well, let's see what's, I want to say, like, let's see what you all voted for, but like you all is like 50.001% of the people.
No, of the voting public. It's 25% of the people.
Yeah, okay. So,
roughly speaking.
Okay. Of the voting public. Of the...
Half the people vote, and half the people who voted for him. And
okay.
so,
well, the other
25%.
half can't... Yeah, whatever.
Well, this is an important point, because that's the factor that generates enthusiasm for bringing people on board. One way to bring people on board and say, you know what, you don't vote, now you will, and you'll vote Democratic, is that they're suffering. And in
Except
4
that they
years,
won't
the
vote.
question, they're suffering, and they didn't vote for him. They didn't vote at all. That's 25% of the American voting age public. You know how many people that is?
That's a lot of people. But, God, yeah.
200 million people.
But yeah, it's not like, yeah, okay.
And here's the thing, that if there's a regime, if there's a political takeover, and we turn into an autocracy, which is what is expectation is, we will be the northern hemisphere's freaking version of Belarus,
right?
And it'll happen because that 25% are either too late in their protestation, or they don't protest at all, and therefore you end up having not 25% of the population who does care and does vote against what you would like to see, but then you have we're not doing anything about it 25%, and that's how they keep winning. That's how these take over. And then if they threaten imprisonment, they're already taking away jobs, and they're hurting families. They're punishing. They're in the business of punishing.
Sure.
Effective immediately. You don't get 2 weeks. You're done. And you're done. Go home tonight. And the shock and awe, of all that shit. And as that gets around, I hope that the 25% of the population that didn't vote say, I think we might have made a mistake by staying home that day, because some of that 25% intended to vote, and in prior years perhaps they have voted, But for whatever reason, they didn't. And it could be like they're not all that enthused in the first place. They'd rather sleep. They don't have a ride. It was cold outside. It was raining. The whole thing is a farce. It's all bullshit. Everybody's
there's
a liar.
a bunch of people in
I
that
hate
camp.
Biden. I hate Harris. I hate everybody. Fuck them. I don't trust any of them. I hate the government. Uh-oh.
There's a whole bunch of people that go to work and come home, or don't go to work because they're unemployed, and I don't know, sit around watching reality
Fox?
TV. No, not even Fox. Like not
reality
engaging
TV.
with the news at
Not
all.
news.
Watching
Right.
Real Housewives or whatever, and then bitch about how much the Doritos cost at the store.
Yeah. So think about the 25% as a continuum that includes your goober, who's sitting there just watching, reality TV, as you say. That's it. Doesn't read, doesn't listen to the news, doesn't know what's going on.
Right.
And occasionally somebody talks to him about stuff, and that sparks his interest. He takes on the opinion of whoever told him,
Right.
Because whoever told him actually is plugged into something. So that's how it spreads, right? But let's say that, let's just say this continuum is half of those people like that. Okay, that's half. That leaves 12.5%. What percent do we need?
Which is
to
millions
be
of people.
victorious?
Right.
What percent did Harris lose by? I think 1.5.
Yeah.
Check me on this. Whatever it was, you don't need 12.5. So then you got like half of the 25%, or 12.5, are like you say, and there's no getting to them.
Right.
They're non-persuadables. But they also include the ones who used to vote. They include independents. People who are in different parties, etc. And so the question is as simple as this. It's this simple every election. It's this simple. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? That's it. It's a pocketbook question. It's got a lot of different iterations to it, but at the end of the day, that's the motivating factor between people voting and how they vote. Whether they get out to vote, and when they get out to vote, how they vote. And it's real simple.
I made a long time ago on my blog, it must have been for the 2008 election. Because I was already in Spain. I wrote a little decision tree of, are you financially okay? In that case, you vote for the incumbent. Are you not? Then you vote against the incumbent. And that's literally, that explains all the elections. However, were the people really financially worse this time? And were they financially worse?
They were, yes.
But were they financially worse when Biden won as well? I guess they were from COVID, and again they were probably also from COVID. So that's why it swung back twice.
Yeah. Here's a couple things: price of eggs, the price of bacon, the price of gasoline, and whenever.
As if the president controls those fucking things.
The president always act like they do. It's their own fucking fault.
Yes.
Biden never stood up his entire term and said, "You dumb nuts. Don't you know there's a worldwide economic disaster because of COVID? And haven't you heard that we're recovering at a rate and at a pace that outstrips everyone in the world? That's why we should be proud, because you don't know. Open your eyes and look. It's worse everywhere else. You stupid fucks." I'm sorry.
God, I still want to hear Joe Biden say, "You dumb nuts."
He never said it. He never even intimated it. We talked about this during the living of it.
Yes.
And then Harris, scared as shit to be able to say anything. I mean, she handled it pretty well, as best she could in the fucking 3 months she had.
Yeah. And
way to go, Joe. Biden, hubris. He let his ego get in the way of it. Unlike a lot of the stuff in his career, but I'll tell you what, it just created
I remember back in back in July, when we were recording, I was in the U.S., and I specifically told you, if Biden doesn't drop out, like, his legacy will be his hubris, like, ruining America for the next generation.
Yes,
I still, like, even though he did drop out,
it's too late.
Like 5 days after I said that, it's too late. Like,
this is the thing. This is the specific.
And everything that happened subsequently is his legacy. It's his fault.
When Biden was asked, when he was running and when he was living in the presidency, he was quoted as saying that he understands that the leadership that is upcoming requires the torch to be passed. His clear message was he was one term. He didn't follow through on that and firmly believed as a scrappy Scranton youth whose father had to scratch and save to be able to pay the bills, and damn it all, he knew what it was to roll up your sleeves and have to work 2 jobs. And if you don't like it, I'll take you outside and I'll punch you in the nose. I'm Scrappy Joe.
Except when you're fucking 80 and you can barely wipe your ass.
You've seen the videos of him saying to a guy, "You want to take this outside?"
Yeah.
He, crazy stuff like that. So he's always had a chip on his shoulder, and bless his heart, so many endearing qualities, etc. And I mean, there were allegations of him cornering women and sticking his finger in the private areas, and I'll tell you what, it was hushed like freaking crazy. There's these clips of him of being a weirdo stroking women's hair.
Yeah. No, he was always, his personal
some creepy
space
shit going on.
Shit was like, if he wasn't running against an actual rapist, like, it would be really.
He wasn't a convicted rapist.
Who?
Trump. He wasn't ever convicted of rape. It was a civil suit, and he was convicted of sexual abuse.
Dude's a rapist.
George Stephanopoulos called it rape, and they settled for $10 million. So, whatever. You know this, right? George Stephanopoulos called it rape, was sued, and they settled. You know what they did? They had to give $10 million to the inauguration. It's not just $10 million. It's like, for that purpose, how fucking humiliating.
Okay. How much consent do women give to allow Trump to? Anyway, whatever. Yeah, so that's fucking dark. And
well, but here's the thing. I want to add this. Look, it's serious enough that it was sexual abuse. That's plenty serious. It's disqualifying for about every goddamn thing you can think of. And
it was worse. It's worse than sniffing a girl's hair. Am I wrong?
It is.
Grab them by the pussy is not the same as sniffing the nape of your neck.
Rolling their dark hair.
It's
like, a lot of dark-haired women, as it turns out. Poor Jill's like, God damn it, I wish, what is he doing now? But, everybody's got their foibles and everybody's got their weirdness, particularly scrutinized by all the, a camera a minute of every fucking day, whatever. But I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, the large part of the voting public had no specific memory of what happened on January 6th. They weren't paying attention. They might have been.
That's too long ago in the
They
news
might
cycle.
have. Listen, man. They were 14 years old, bro. They were 14. Now they're 18 and they're voting for the first time. They weren't paying attention. They were 14. They had a little hard on and they were stoking the cheerleaders in their freaking high school. That's the only important thing that was going on.
For some slice of the voters, yes. I find it hilarious. Like the Daily Show had a segment on this about how like 4 or 5 at least of one of the people that was pardoned from January 6th got into an altercation with a police officer and was killed, and another 2 or 3 like got out of jail and were immediately prosecuted for child pornography collecting.
One guy was shot. He was driving down the street.
Yeah,
and stopped at a fucking stoplight. Got shot. Right.
That's the first one I said. Yeah, and just how like turns out maybe they weren't the best citizens. Like,
let's drink to that.
Imagine that.
We're in agreement.
Cheers, bro.
Oh, good Lord, help us.
So, yeah, what a crazy thing. Let's veer away from the politics desk for a moment. So, last week, I told you that that my cat was sick, and I had taken him to the vet, and he spent 2 nights at the vet, and was really very close to death. Like, he had a whole bunch of crystals, we call them stones in English, in his bladder and his kidneys and shit.
They came back.
Yeah, because this had happened before.
And you didn't follow the diet you were supposed to, so you're responsible.
I followed it a little bit, but now I've been told that he's got to be on that for the rest of his life. And
he's back.
And so he spent 2 nights in the vet, and then I had a call with the vet, and she was like, yeah, so, he should probably spend the weekend with us. And I was like, whoa. How much is that going to cost? Because that's how much I care about my cat. I was like, first of all, tell me how much I already owe for having brought him to you, and you never had asked me about what treatment should we do. You just went ahead and did a bunch of shit without asking me. So
really,
do you consent to?
You didn't authorize it?
Yeah, I mean they did a bunch of surgery and shit.
That's smoky, man.
And so,
you sure your wife did it?
What?
Did your wife communicate with them?
No. It was just me. And so she said,
is it your cat or is the family cat?
It's the family cat, but they would all accuse it of being my cat.
Why would they? Why?
Because my wife was against getting a cat forever, and the kids were like, we need a cat, and then it was me that said, okay, we should get a cat, and my wife was like, all right, it's all on you, bud. Like, this cat is yours. Like,
well, now I have the context for your response to the question.
Yes.
What did you say? My wife with the cat? No. This was all with me.
Yeah. So
yeah. I overstand that.
And also the cat spends all day here with me, and I'm the one, the kids are always, before you get the pet, they're like, oh, we'll totally take care of it, and we'll clean the litter box, and we'll feed it, and we'll do all the things, and then it's the parent that ends up doing it. Which I knew when I said that, when I agreed. But anyway, apparently this is a common thing for orange males to go through.
Orange?
Orange.
What?
My cat is orange.
What do you mean? You think it's related to the color?
Oh, yeah.
You're racist.
No,
dick.
it is. No, it's not.
You are a cat racist.
I am. I'm a cat racist.
I suppose you want to claim there's science behind it?
I don't. I just. It's just when I posted on Facebook, hey, my cat's sick, and this is what he's got. Everyone was like, oh yeah, that's what orange boys have. I was like, okay, that's all I know. But anyway, so the vet was like, yeah. So your current bill is like $750.
Ooh.
And if he stays,
did your nuts tighten?
And if he stays the weekend, that's gonna be another $450.
Oh well.
And I was like, nah, we'll bring him home.
Bring him home.
If it's his time to die, it's his time to die. Whatever.
You did. That was in the back of your mind, I'm sure, but not.
That was
I mean, you knew that the animal was apparently well enough that with proper care it would be fine at home.
No, I didn't. She specifically. So I said. So does he? What are his chances? Is it like is it 5%? If it's 5%, then let's just call it a day, and you make him sleep. And she was like, no, it's like 50%. So I was like, fuck, 50%.
Great. The horns of a dilemma.
Right.
The paws of a dilemma.
Yes. The cute orange ears of a dilemma. The whiskers of a dilemma. Yes.
The whiskers of a
That's
dilemma.
the type.
Hey, there's a T-shirt in there. On the front, 2 eyes, a nose, cat's eyes, cat's nose, and a big set of whiskers. And then on the back, what does it say?
The whiskers of a dilemma.
The what?
The whiskers of a dilemma? That's what we were just...
Okay, I forgot. That's
Jesus
what
Christ.
The whiskers of a dilemma.
I actually have the perfect photo that's going to be the episode art for this. But at this point, he was like intubated on both ends. He had a tube down his throat and a tube up his penis.
And that's happened to you before, so you know.
It has not happened to me yet.
No, you told me that it was self-inflicted. That's what you did to relax. Do I have this wrong?
I mean, every Sunday I call it.
You toot?
No, it's not
I
YouTube.
toot every day.
It's not YouTube. It's MeTube.
Tube.
So she was like, okay, like I'll leave the tubes in him, and I'll show you how to like push stuff down it and let out the leakage. And I was like, yeah, okay. So this was on Thursday afternoon. I decided I was going to go get him Friday, no matter what. And at this point, he still had all these tubes and shit in him. And the vet was like, okay. And then Friday morning came along, and the vet said, he's actually a lot better now. He's like eating on his own, and we've taken all the tubes out of him, and he's doing pretty well. Like, he could totally go home now. And I was like, well, thank God. Like, I was worried that I was going to have to like have this weird tube cat lying around.
Things we don't want in life, a weird tube cat.
You know, you got a tube, and then you got a cat, and then you got the tube coming out the other end.
Well, it's let's see, what would that be? That'd be like a corn on the cob kind of, cat on the cob.
Cat on the cob. Jesus Christ. It's like a horrible plumber nightmare.
You put butter and salt on shit, you need fucking anything. Are you kidding me?
So anyway,
cat on the cob. That's another T-shirt. I'm telling you.
Fuck.
What do you have? What do you have on the front? You have the cat and the whiskers thing, because that's the right. And then on the back, it's a big picture of cat on the cob.
God damn it! I'm gonna make some AI art to go with this. If it's not too offensive.
Did you work on the AI art for my band? Did you decide to do anything with the skeletons?
I mean, I generated the ones that I sent you.
Yeah, I know. They were unacceptable. I wondered if you had read my note and said that I liked the skeletons and all that. I just wanted to be more exotic.
Yeah, I tried with your feedback and got nowhere, and so
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
But that was like a month
Even
ago.
when you just say like 4 skeletons with instruments, it doesn't.
I'll workshop
Or,
it some more.
I don't know, how does it work? I mean, is that enough to?
I'll try some more, and also I might like teach you how to freaking do it yourself. So that might be nice.
Yeah, listen, I'm wide open. I've been going down wormholes on the fucking internet every day and spacing out for 45 minutes and coming back and saying, "Wow, where was I? I sure didn't get anything done."
So anyway, to continue on my cat journey, I brought him back. He was all like, his bottom half was all super soaked with like piss, because like
With what?
he was pee.
Cat piss, or you pissed on him because you
No,
were mad?
it was all cat piss. He was just like incontinent for a while, and he came home all wet. And the vet said, maybe you could give him a bath. And then she thought for a moment, and she said, no, actually, just let him dry and clean himself, which is fine, but he's still a little stinky. And anyway, I've been giving him antibiotics and some pills that I put in a little bit of cheese, and I give him, and he's made a full freaking recovery, the little bastard.
That's wonderful. That's heartwarming. I actually was fearful that the news was that he had died, and
No.
And so I'm thrilled to hear of the.
I was all ready to make
progress.
a joke about swinging a dead cat, but
It's
nope,
it's
not yet.
It's actually this. He's now on his 3rd life. His original one, his first crystal or stone scare,
Right.
and now his 2nd one. So apparently, he's got 4 more. No, not 4 more. There's 9, right? So let's see, 9, 3, there's 6. Carry the 1. 6. He has
So-
6 more lives left.
In Spain, they say cats have 7 lives. Isn't that weird?
Now he's down to 5.
Like it's
Well, they're probably right.
it must have been like at some point, either that concept developed independently, where it seems like cats fall off of things and they're not dead yet, and therefore people said, oh, they've got a bunch of lives, or there was some mistranslation between one culture to another, but I haven't investigated. Isn't that interesting?
Fascinating, absolutely
Fascinating.
So let's see. The conclusion of the agency, which has already been re-upped for 2nd season, happened. That
I did
would
watch
imagine you-
1 or 2 episodes of that, but then
I
don't have enough time.
It has excellent acting and excellent effects, and it's compelling. It's very, very, very well done, and it's complicated enough, and I get sleepy enough when I watch it, that I think I'm going to go ahead and gorge on the whole 10 episodes, and start over,
Right.
and learn more and get
binge,
understood.
they call that.
I tell you what, interesting thing. I told you last episode or 2 episodes ago that I was immersed again into rereading Larry McMurtry's epic Western
Yes.
novels, including a 3-part volume of growing up in small towns. His first 3 novels, which he wrote when he was like just in college and then getting out of college, and he published. And I remember when I was reading the story called Horsemen Pass By, which was one of his first novels, very quick at it, that there was a character in it had a nickname by the name of Hud. And I recall, of course, this Paul Newman movie called Hud, and sure enough, when I'm reading Larry McMurtry's one of his final novels entitled Books. He talks about his life collecting books and selling books. He's got 28,000 volumes in his collection right now in his house in Texas. Or his estate does, because he just recently passed away. But rereading them, and I stopped reading and I went to my television and I punched in HUD and it came up for $3.99. So I watched the first half of this black and white movie of Paul Newman when he was a young actor, and in the autobiography, I guess it's autobiography of related to books, he says it was strange that as soon as the book was published, within months, they began doing a movie. It usually takes years for that to happen, but it happened because Paul Newman read it and he wanted to be the part. Right. And they renamed the movie from Horseman Pass Me By to HUD. And so it was so strange. But in the novel, this was it's just in the 50s and 60s, 66 when this happened, 67.
The movie is from 63.
What is HUD?
HUD, the movie.
HUD 63. So in the book, the maid, who's the cook maid who helps run, because Ma died years ago, these men and these cowboys that run the ranch, they all have to be fed and their shit taken care of. They had an African-American black maid who, in the book, HUD, rapes.
Oops.
And in the movie, she wasn't black anymore, she was white. And I only watched half of it because I got tired and shut it off. I'll pick it up later, maybe even tonight. Is that it is apparent from what I've seen so far that they changed the script so that he, in fact, is seducing this white maid who, when
I'm
he's
guessing
doing
her name is Alma Brown.
Alma Brown, who by the way,
like they turned her white, but they called her brown.
But the exact name of a woman I worked for in North Carolina Department of Crime Control and Public Safety when I was in my 30s. Her name was what? Alma Brown. But anyway, in the movie, and this is worth it because I want you to picture. It's black and white though, so you don't see Newman's bright blue eyes. But there he is, laying on the back of a bed, with on the other end of the bed, sitting there in the middle of the day, is Alma Brown, and they're exchanging pleasantries, and he's making innuendo. And while he's poking around the room, he finds a flower in a vase, and he pulls it out. And when he's talking to her, he's leaning back, he's got the flower under his nose, and he's smelling it with a devilish grin, and he's saying things like, if your itch needs another scratch, you know where you can find me. Because she had said something about she divorced her husband, blah, 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 blah. But this image
that's the level of sex
smelling
line, huh?
this flower, and in the book, he raped her. It's like, this ain't, and it's the screenplay's obviously written by two other people. McMurtry said that he spent one day on the set, and all of his novels that have been turned into movies, including the Shirley MacLaine, Jack Nicholson, Deborah Winger series of movies that all from his books. Texasville, the astounding Jeff Bridges movie of his career, in my view, is iconic, at least as iconic as
The Big Lebowski. What's the name of the movie?
Texasville.
Texas.
That deserves a swig of beer.
1990. I do not know that movie. Sybil Shepherd.
Oh my God! It opens up with the character. You need to understand this, that I just reread for about the fifth time, Larry McMurtry's third novel, which became instantly classic, called The Last Picture Show. And it was only his third novel. He was very young. And he became acquainted with Peter Bogdanovich, who turned it into a black and white movie starring Jeff Bridges when he was a teenager, Timothy Bottoms when he was a teenager, Cloris Leachman,
also Sybil
and
Shepherd.
others. And in this black and white movie, which came out very quickly, and I have original 1966 copy of that book.
1971 was the movie.
And the book was 66.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter, but I've got a 66 copy of it. But at any rate, so that's how you were introduced to Dwayne in his third novel. And
Dwayne Jackson, yep.
much later, Dwayne, and now in his 50s, has become an oil man and rich. And he's in a big, rich house. He grew up dirt poor. And the opening scene of the movie and the novel is him in his hot tub with a 6-shooter, a big pistol, holster outside the hot tub, and he's shooting into pieces a doghouse that he hired people to build that cost him like $10,000 at his wife's insistence. And he was shooting it into pieces. And that's how the book opens and goes from and the movie opens. And so it's high hilarity. And the other recurring figure is in the first book, The Last Picture Show, JC, who is the ingenue high school student that Dwayne lusts over, and all
Played by Sybil Shepherd in both movies.
Yes. So Sybil Shepherd, then imagine literally 40 years later, they do this, which Larry McMurtry wrote the novel about. So where's Dwayne now? And this is Texasville. Then there's another one about Dwayne, and then there's another one, and he dies in the third one, and it's all about his character. And so The Last Picture Show, 1966, I think, he created these characters that McMurtry wove into all these novels that they're just so hilarious and so serious. And one of the things that he's famous for is being able to write female characters. And it's in The Last Picture Show, Ruth Popper, who is the mistress, the coach's wife, who Timothy Bottom's character end up in bed with for months and months at a time. Cloris Leachman in that
Leachman,
role,
yes.
Absolutely astounding. And there was a scene that I saw in the movie that made me go back and read the book. And I've read the book another couple of times since then. The scene is no less gripping. It's the very last couple of pages of the book where, after this long hiatus where Sonny got hooked up with JC because, wanted the pants and all this other stuff, and abandoned Ruth, who had always been a mousy, I'm invisible type woman, the coach who's probably, likes boys, whatever.
Sure.
And it's also very strange, but he goes back, and it's very sad at the end because all of his friends are gone, or his friends have died, and he's so sad. He's so sad, and he finally, after leaving her high and dry, goes back, and he says, "Can I come in?" And she says, "Yes." And she's pouring him coffee, and she spills a little coffee, and she says, "I'm sorry." And then she bursts into this outrageous anger of, why am I telling you I'm sorry? And she throws her cup, then his cup, then the coffee pot, all against the wall.
Nice.
And screams at him and says, "Why should I? And you're a son of a bitch and a bastard," and this and that. And by the end of the scene, she reaches over and she touches his hand. And she says, "You know what, honey? It'll be all right." And that's how the book ends. And the precipice of is in her anger. If you think that what I'm going to do is forgive you and continue this, knowing that it may be in 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, I'll have to go through it all again because I am so much older than you. You want me to do that? Fuck you. I'm not doing that. And he bows his head and sits there, and she notices the lovely little curl of hair on the back of his neck that she's always loved. And she can't help herself. She reaches over and she touches his hand and she says, "It'll be all right, honey."
I have a question. That was lovely. Have you ever thrown a glass against a wall in anger?
A glass table, does that count?
No.
It doesn't.
No.
You would think I'd get a few points. Glass table? That's pretty big.
No, I mean
no.
In cinema and in books and stories, somebody gulps down their tumbler and is like, "Fuck that bitch," and throws it against the wall or whatever. No. Okay.
Yeah, and also throws in the fireplace as a mazel tov. I believe that was in movies, including but not limited to The Young Frankenstein.
So my mind, in the way that yours has been, when you read books, my mind. I just finished a book that has been made into a movie that I saw with my wife once. Have you seen the movie or heard of the book called Gone Girl?
Called what?
Gone Girl.
Yeah, with Ben Affleck and
yeah.
What's her name?
And a pretty blonde. I forget exactly her name. But so I saw that movie. I one time when I was in the States, and I guess maybe my daughter was little, and we left her with my folks, and we let's go out for a date movie to see a movie in the theater, and we saw Gone Girl, which is not a good date movie to watch with your wife. A friend of mine.
Because then she figured out you're trying to kill her?
Well, yeah. I had seen the movie, but I had forgotten all the twists, right? So
there are plenty.
And a friend of mine had said, "You need to read this book." And so I just finished it. And holy shit, it puts... if I say boil the bunny, what does that mean to you? A bunny boiler.
No clue.
Do you remember there's a movie called Lethal Attraction with Glenn Close and Michael Douglas?
Yeah.
And she's so crazy that she goes and takes his kid's pet bunny and cooks it and boils it in a pot.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that?
Oh God.
So
I can't stand to watch that movie.
Right, exactly.
I tried to watch it a second time and it just freaked me out. I did.
Yeah.
I did watch it, but when she jumps out of the bathtub,
yeah,
still alive, it's enough to just make you shit your pants.
Yeah. So there's this term that I've heard around the internet called for a crazy girlfriend, where they say a bunny boiler, or someone that's so crazy that they will go and do something like that. Gone Girl goes so far past that. It's written give
me an example of how it was far past that, because that's pretty far past.
So I don't want to spoil anything for anyone that wants to go read it, so I can't.
No, go ahead. I've seen it. It's just the two of us. Who are you kidding?
Yeah. All right. So if anyone that wants to go read it without spoilers, skip 5 minutes ahead. It's written from the first person of the husband, who has, he and his wife have lost their New York writing jobs and have moved to the Midwest to care for his parents in his hometown. And one day he comes home from work at the bar that they've bought with his wife's trust fund money, and his wife is just gone. But she's disappeared, but she's left all of this evidence that incriminates him. And so he's from his point of view, it's this is crazy, what happened to my wife. And the police are all well, normally it's the husband, but he's well, it clearly wasn't me, because et cetera, et cetera. But as it goes on, she has spent the past year before she disappeared planning and setting these traps around the world, so that when the investigation happens, they go and they find all these things that implicate the husband.
Yep.
And he's just what the fuck is even going on here? I don't know. How are these things all lining up to implicate me?
Now you're suggesting that her level of insanity is worse than the cooking the rabbit, but in the cooking of the rabbit, which is a physical.
No, it goes further. It goes.
I mean, what does she do? Literally, what does she do that comes close to boiling a fucking rabbit, a pet? Anything? I mean, that is so depraved. I mean, that's what the question.
No, but
it's just in total, she's deranged beyond that.
No, but the torture that, because I, as a husband, identify with the protagonist, and the mental shit that she puts him through.
I knew it.
Is really
agonizing.
Fucking twisted, and
so it's more powerful to you than the whole energy of boiling a rabbit. It was the rabbit? She killed the rabbit first. She didn't boil it alive.
We don't know that. I don't think.
What's your guess?
I mean, I think a rabbit's gonna splash some boiling water on you.
She killed the rabbit first and boiled it alive.
I'm just saying. It's not like a lobster.
Are they right? A giant insect that crawls at the bottom of the ocean.
But boy, do I feel bad when the few times I've thrown a live lobster into a pot of boiling water. How conscious are they? But also, it has to be pretty quick, the death. But also,
well, if you did it to a person, they'd be crushed. But if you did it to a lobster, it'd be crustacean.
Nice try.
To-da-doom.
That's the fact that you want praise for that is kind of shellfish of you.
So I got a couple of band stories for you.
Don't you think that's shellfish of you?
Yeah, whatever. I'm going to change the subject. So,
band news.
Mojo Ride played our first ever non-Thunderbird gig.
What is a non-Thunderbird gig?
For 6 months, we only played in one joint, the Thunderbird, downtown Kalamazoo. And for this, we went to a brewery. Shout out to the Liquid Note. It's a brewery that makes beers named after musical artists and their songs. And the dude who owns the place, manages it, etc., is Mark, incredible guy, drummer.
Mark, incredible guy.
He buys a storefront, right? Typical storefront, builds a builds a stage in the middle of it, facing just exactly right, and then builds his bar and his tables around it. Anyway, we played there at the Liquid Note, and it was really different because the first stage we played at was way up above people, and there were pillars and there was fencing between us and the people, and this was the stage you could step up on, and the people were right there, and it was much more intimate. And the whole thing is filmed, which means that if you go online, or it's Facebook actually, it's a Facebook Liquid Note, and we've had about 1,000 clicks, I guess, whatever the fuck that means, but it appears to be 3 or 4 more 100 than other people have had who've played there. But anyway, we had a blast.
Nice.
And it was so different. We put that on the show notes.
That's a good. It's not, it's not a solid note. It's a liquid note.
Do you see a click for us to play?
Do what?
Do you see a click on the? Are you at the Facebook page?
Oh, you expected me to be following?
Oh no, I did. You were looking pensively at the screen. I assumed.
I was waiting for you to say something more interesting. Sorry.
Well, if that was the case, we just quit now, because I'm giving you my best stuff. I have anything left. I'm almost completely out of gas.
All right. Well, I have a story that can happen for next time, which might be more interesting.
Well, a funny thing was that one of my jobs, since I'm center stage and I think I'm pretty much the lead singer. When the band needed time, our lead guitarist, for example, would have some type of technical issue, I'd have to talk to the people. And it became clear during all, the past couple of months especially, that was expected. And band members who heard tapes of it said the banter's fine and fun. And they sometimes play music a little bit while I'm talking, a little background. And so this gig, we were building up to a tune called Long Train Runnin'. And I saw Justin, the lead guitar player, who was messing with his technicals, and I started to tell a story about living up near the sound of trains and their whistle blowing when I went to sleep, and that I would jump the trains and jump on them when they were moving slowly past, and would ride the trains, and how my mother encouraged me that as I got on a train to stay on it and just go and live my life as I must when I was only 10 years old. Mm-hmm. And said, so this idea of a long train running brings back memories of me and my mother and her expecting me to be on a long train run. Justin's still not done with this technical issue, and so I'm anxious to see what it sounds like and looks like on tape.
So that anecdote reminds me of the movie "Threw My Mama Off a Train." Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. Danny DeVito, right?
Yeah. What a dumb premise for a movie that, like.
Oh, and the woman who played his mother was a famous comedian.
Now I have to look it up.
Mabley? Was it Moms Mabley? No.
Threw My Mama from a Train. Danny DeVito, Billy Crystal. Anne Ramsley. Yep. Yeah, she was the sort of angry old lady for much of the.
Who? What's her name?
Anne Ramsley.
Anne, right?
Like she was in the Goonies. Like she was the 80s
quintessential old woman.
Old lady.
Right.
Yeah, she was in Scrooged, Deadly Friend. Yeah. Anyway, what a ridiculous movie that was. Anyway, so you were talking about.
Oh, anyway, it was
Mama on a Train.
It was fun and weird to have to do that. At one point, there was this woman at the bar, and the bar was right in front of us. I mean, it was a space to walk in between us and the bar, of course. and then there were tables to in front of us and tables to the back. And the stage was center stage, so to speak. And
Jokers to the left.
this woman became very loud at the bar and yelling to somebody else across the bar. And I said, I hope everybody's having a good time. And everybody clapped this. And I said, I know she's having a good time. And everybody clapped again. And at some point, a little later, she spun around from her bar stool, came over with a margarita, and started trying to drink it like upside down, like the wrong side of the glass,
right?
And licking the salt off. And we got done with the song, and she was yelling and screaming and said, I'm going to buy you a shot. And went, and a moment later, we were playing a tune dedicated to Garth Hudson, who just died, the last surviving member of the band. The organ player, among other instruments. And so I play the Jew's harp through the song, and it got to be one of those things where she came up and she put a shot on the stage, but only one shot. She didn't buy the whole band a shot. Apparently she just bought me a shot, but I would. And so Justin, his lead guitar player, runs all the tempo in the song.
Sure.
He turns the band. He says slow it down, and he just starts to play. And while he's playing softly, I'm still playing the hell out of my juice harp. And he says, "Oh Dennis, someone brought you a shot. You would at least have the courtesy of drinking it. So stop." I bent down, I picked it up, I threw the shot down, and then I started playing again. And he picked up with the guitar, and we jammed, And we got done with the tune, and I thanked everybody, thanked her for the shot. And I said, God damn it if I don't sound a lot better after I drink that shot. The more I drink, the better I sound.
Well done. That was. It
was so much fun.
And good on the guitarist for nudging that.
It's great. The stage brings out his showmanship a bit more. The other stage was high up. He was almost anonymous. You at a certain angle you could see him, but he's such a fantastic guitar player, and he's got a great. It's such a physical connection with the guitar, as most great, guys who just rip it are, and so his face and his body and his contortions are all just extraordinarily.
That's what you mean.
Entertaining, extraordinarily entertaining. And if I had my way, I'd step on a switch on my foot, and I would turn a spotlight on him. Anyway, he was in evidence, which I thought so much improved our show, altogether. And
nice.
It was, I fucked up a couple of times, but other people did as well.
How dare you?
And we were able to recover, and that's the test. I mean, you come in too early, you come in too late, or you have the wrong pace or whatever.
On these recordings, you never fuck up, like I don't edit out any of this.
You're right.
It's all just crystal gold.
I've never listened to one of our recordings, but I wouldn't be surprised if you edit out 90% about what I say, and you've renamed it without my knowledge.
No, that would make it good.
The Erik Happy Hour.
Yeah, no. This is legit real, man. Like, no mistakes are made. Like, when you're in the happy hour together, man, it's like what happens is real and doesn't leave happy hour, man.
I tell you, this is the first time I laughed out loud all day. It's the first time I laughed out loud in a couple of days. And it's been a rather, it's kind of that time of year where you're tired of the winter and you're feeling malaise, and I've got some shit in the hopper, but nothing's really happening. And
I mean, when Christmas is done, but also there's no... Also, the nights are really long. And
we took
really
the tree
cold.
down. That's always like a thing.
Yeah.
And I'm my OCD is coming back, and in a big way. So today's been great.
You're welcome, Dennis.
I know it. Well, you get paid for it. I do it. I don't get paid. You get paid.
I don't get paid. I just had to pay.
You get every penny that comes in. Wait, true or false? Just yes or no. You get every penny that comes in.
I just had to pay the annual fee for our domain name, which is more than we get in.
You're lucky I didn't take it out of your hide. You've been late several times and unprepared. You're usually unprepared.
Yes. Well. But
I can remember the 4th of July, sitting on my daddy's knee. I can still hear the hound dogs barking, chasing down a hoodoo there. Oh yeah, chasing down a hoodoo there. Oh, down on the bayou. Down on the bayou. Down on the bayou. Down on the bayou. Oh, I can remember the 4th of July, sitting on my daddy's knee. And I can still hear the hound dog barking, chasing down a hoodoo there. I said, chasing down a hoodoo there. Down on the bayou. Down on the bayou. I can remember the 4th of July, sitting on my daddy's knee. I can still hear his hound dog barking, chasing down a hoodoo there. Chasing down a hoodoo there. Down on the bayou. Down on the bayou. Down on the bayou.
All right, that's episode number 240. You can find the show notes at happyhour.fm/240, where there are links to all the movies we talked about, all of those old westerns that Dennis likes, and the Gone Girl, and things like that. You can support the show at patreon.com/happyhour. See you next week.